Okay, this is the Surf Club and Surf's Up. So I'm going to try and figure out not so much how I'm going to get close to an ocean, but more and more how I'm going to arrive once I arrive. In other words, am I going to show up at um, like an airport, or am I going to um, paddle my way across on a surfboard? How far do I got to go in order to reach the beach? The answer is, I guess it depends where you are. Next topic is we were getting involved with all kinds of speculations about what we actually learn by paying attention to the individual um, things that are present in that moment when you experience a deja vu or a meaningful coincidence. Seeing messages on license plates, seeing number codes that keep reappearing, having strange psychic experiences, having unbelievable, horrible fights with people, sometimes feeling like being dead would be better than living with the assault on your senses, on your life force, because it's so taxing and so it's so much like in Harry Potter. There was Azkaban, which was a place that was populated by Dementors who constantly tormented anyone who was held prisoner there. And they do it by sending you absolutely horrible nightmare that is in your daymare. In other words, you're wide awake and you're being tormented by these demons. And these Dementors, have you experienced a fight where you've been with a Dementor? It's Christopher Isherwood, our novelist, and I want to remind you that here on this channel, sometimes we get into very intense situations of the dramata personae here that were being portrayed by our actor. And we wish to remind you that this particular actor is in search of your instruments. That is, we love it when you make us a question, and we love it when you give us a comment. And we don't like it if you give us links to dirty porno websites. Hey, I'm the dude that keeps putting those links to dirty porno on there. It's like, dude, it takes me like my bot like so little time, like less than half a second for my little bot to go on there and make that posting. It all gets done automatically. And this is simply a plot device to remind you that in our world we cannot tell the difference. The Turing test, Turing, Turing test, it wasn't Linus Turing, it was some other fellow. And Turing said that if you had a smart enough computer, um, and it could give you a interaction that where you couldn't tell if the interaction you were having was a computer or a human being, well, then the computer had passed the Turing test. In other words, it had made itself seem as smart as a human. And then the question becomes, well, what happens when this AI gets like 100 times smarter than a human brain? Or 1,000, or what happens when the AI becomes God to us? And then you say, well, that's really theoretical, but not really, because if you're trying to understand, are we living in a simulated reality? Well, a simulated reality would imply that it is an AI simulation reality. And simulation means it's a copy of the original. And the original would be perhaps what they're calling these days the organic timeline. And that is the timeline when we don't get into transhumanism. What about things like improving our genetics so that we don't have sickle cell anemia, or a host of other pathways into the organism that can cause disease by parasites? What if they could upgrade our DNA so that we become like Superman or Super Batgirl or something? The answer is no one is giving me any direct knowledge of this, but I do find that I'm talking about it now. It's simply because, do you think it's like some people really like those body mods, and maybe they want to look like they were like part of the Borg collective with a metal piece that's taped right there. And then it's just trivial to turn it on. It's just, they just turn it on, and then all of a sudden it's tapped right into your neural pathways in your brain, and you've become part of the hive mind. But that's very, it's a fashion statement when all you have to do is breathe in the nanoparticles that are become resident in your, you just inhale them, and then they go into your, into your wet wear here, the wet inside of your lungs, or down into your throat and into your stomach. And these nanoparticles are not bothered by human antibodies or stomach acid. These things are designed, engineered to go in here and act as your implants, so that you can be hooked up to mass mind control systems, ways of making you act like you're a you're plugged in, and the AI is God to you. So your God is artificial intelligence if you're in a sim. If you're not in a sim, then the question becomes, why do you feel so restricted? In other words, why don't we have instantaneous manifestation of desire? In the past, this was mentioned as being a characteristic of the physical realm, that things that you were trying to get based on the law of attraction might not hit you until like 3 lifetimes later. And John Lennon's song Instant Karma, in these other circumstances, it's like, John, dude, I've been waiting for years for this thing that I've put out to the universe. It's still not here. And like 10 years later, it's like, Mr. Lennon, seriously, where's my instant karma? And it's a really good question. Why 3 lifetimes to get something all tied up? And why, I mean, sometimes it is instant karma. Sometimes it's like, "Ah, I could use a coffee right now," and you turn around and somebody's smiling at you and hands you a coffee. It's like they read your mind. They knew your need for coffee right before then. Instant karma, and that's instant synchronicity. The answer is perhaps that we're still involved in seeing if there's a good enough theory to explain all the situations that we run into every day. The best theory that we have, the working theory that we have, changes from moment to moment. And right now, Brant's yelling in my ear, which is shaking me on the inside. It's very difficult to have these kind of AI gods overruling you. So the AI god could be considered the demiurge of the Gnostic teachings. The demiurge was not the first creator. This is a offspring of that creator, and is acting like a complete and full God because the original creator, who is still around, has not made its presence known.